All right, 3, 2, 1. We are recording. Hey, welcome to the Avanti Entrepreneur Podcast. I am David Mamano, your host, and we are here to help entrepreneurs, achievers, and entrepreneurial leaders in general move forward. That's what we do. We help people move forward because that's what Avanti means. And we want them to move forward because we want you to reach your potential. And the way I do this is I interview incredible just business movers and shakers. I usually say the nation's best, but today we're international. I went all the way to Canada, I'm here in Rochester, New York. I could throw a stone at Canada, so you're kind of international, right? Actually, Rochester has an international airport. It says Rochester International Airport because we have one flight to Toronto. So
you do, and I have been on that flight. It is the world's smallest commercial plane.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's one of the original planes from Wilbur and Oliver. What's the other guy's name? The Wright brothers. How's that?
Oh.
Yep. It is Friday morning after my big event. So I have a little brain fog going on. By the way, I haven't even introduced you. So today I have on the show, Colleen Francis. Colleen, my favorite Canadian of the day. Welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So Colleen is driven by a passion for sales and results. She is a successful sales leader, and for over 20 years, she understands the particular challenges of selling in today's crowded, confusing market, and that business leaders can no longer rely on approaches that sales-based technologies from decades ago or even last year. Colleen works with businesses and sales leaders to synergize the sales DNA of the organization to seize market opportunities, whether designating strategy to target a new market or working with a team to improve its productivity. Colleen's results have attracted clients such as Merck, Abbott, Merrill Lynch, Royal Bank, Dow, Adecco, Trend Micro, NCR, Chevron, and hundreds of other global organizations. Time and time again, clients who work with Colleen note her frank, no-nonsense approach to accelerate sales while reducing effort and increasing profits. Colleen's practical strategies deliver immediate and lasting results. Colleen is an award-winning writer and consultant. She's a best-selling author and a member of the Speaking Hall of Fame, recognized annually as the thought leader on the future of selling by leading publications worldwide, Sales and Marketing Magazine, and also has also called Colleen Sales and Marketing Magazine has also called Colleen and Engaged Selling one of the top 5 most effective sales training organizations in the market today. Well, that's pretty cool. Congratulations. I am a big fan of yours because I was at Outbound in Atlanta. And that was in April of 2019, and I had never been to that conference. I'd never heard of it. My friend who actually works right behind this wall, is Tony King, told me about it, and I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Atlanta in April sounds nice to me, and I was just thoroughly impressed with the conference and the speakers. To shame on me, I didn't really know a lot of the speakers until that conference. I knew Jeffrey Gitomer because everyone knows Jeffrey, right? Yep. But I've had just about every speaker from that conference on my show.
Excellent.
And I know we originally had you planned earlier. I think you had to reschedule once, and I had to reschedule once. But here we are. So, Colleen, there's a lot of noise, we'll say, in the sales training market, right?
Yes.
So how, I guess first tell me about, how did you get to where you are? How did you become such a great, sales influencer and trainer? And kind of what is your secret sauce to helping people make more sales?
So how did I get here? Well, I'm a career salesperson. So I know nothing else. I was the kid whose dad, I had to go door to door to sell whatever stuff we were selling for band camp, soccer camp. No one took that to work.
Right. I know. Yeah, that's a new thing, and it's kind of defeats the purpose, right? Come on.
Exactly. And actually, it even goes further than that because my dad is a sales person, sales manager as well. So, when I was in elementary school and we had a professional development day, I didn't go to soccer camp or whatever. My mom actually sent me to work with my dad. So I made sales calls with my dad. And it's really funny. They just were cleaning out their stuff, and he found his old cold call logs from 1968.
Wow.
They're keeping them for me, all handwritten in about.
Yeah. The original CRM, pen and paper, right?
So, when I graduated, I started from college. I went into a sales job, and I stayed in sales all the way through in a couple of different careers until really the bottom fell out of the tech market in 2001. And I just decided at that time to go out on my own as a consultant, because where I live in Canada, in Ottawa, we're a tech center and a very engineering focused. And what I discovered is too many startups had full-time sales VPs that they didn't need, couldn't afford. And what they really needed was kind of a part-time sales VP consultant type person to help them get through the first part of the product development, market evaluation, hiring a sales team. And that's how I started.
Very cool. So it was just based on, really a survival need, right? Just, yeah, very good. And then you started, writing books and putting together more and more content. And how did you get into the, being the professional speaker that you are today as well?
Yeah, it kind of morphed, right? I started in this virtual VP of sales type world with these small companies. And then it became, well, that's really great, Colleen, but could you just actually come in and help coach or train our team to do that rather than, us having you on a consulting or retainer? So that was fine. Yeah. So I started writing and I started, doing webinars, and I started just putting content out there. And then that just became sort of people would inquire about workshops, people would inquire about speakers, and it all just happened very organically for me. And every time someone came by and said, hey, could you speak at this conference? Sure, why not? Right. So I really learned the business of consulting, speaking, and training as I went.
So, but you were really, when you were speaking at Outbound, I mean, you were really polished in, you're just I'm going to say not a public speaker, you are a professional speaker. Did you go through some training to kind of hone that skill, or is this all just innate, natural, Colleen?
Well, I think two things. I did do some early training when I first started. I did Toastmasters. So I probably was involved with Toastmasters for a year or two. I'm not a world champion public speaker and didn't, work through all of the programs, but I at least worked through some of the early programs to understand some speech fundamentals and get comfortable. Other than that, almost all of my style is just natural. And I have found that the best way to practice is to just get out there in front of a live audience and have stage time, as my friend Darren says.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Very good. No, you have some great energy and charisma and mojo up there, and it's a good balance of fun energy with professionalism. So. Yeah. So I'm going to make your head explode with a massive ego, but you were good, So.
I don't. Speaking is one part of my business. It's not the bulk of my business, but I don't ever want to be anything but my natural self on stage. And so, to be frank, and I know there are some tremendous programs out there, I kind of shied away from a lot of professional speaker training because a little bit of me is scared that they'll want to change my authentic self into performance, thing, and that's not right.
Don't want to stomp out the God-given natural Colleen. Right? So,
exactly. And I'm sure there's people, as there always are in our industry, who are 180 degrees different in their opinion from me, and that's fine too. That's just.
Oh yeah, I mean, I know some people that were kind of ambivalent and shy about being a speaker, and they went to training, whether it was Dale Carnegie, Toastmasters, or one of the a little bit more expensive program, and it worked out great for them. And I've known people that were already great speakers, and they went to one of these programs and got even better. But it's all, listen, it's just a personal choice, right? Absolutely. And obviously, what you're doing is working for you. So beautiful. So so Avanti, our Avanti family here, we are entrepreneurs, right? I mean, we are the mad scientists who are birthing these crazy ideas and trying to manage not only growing the product and the business, but trying to create a great culture and trying to take care of ourselves along the way. And a lot of times in the beginning, we're chief cook, bottle washer, the whole thing. So when you work with those type of people, right? So let's say they're maybe doing 500,000 a year. They have, 1 to 5 people, right? And they want to go to 2 million, 5 million. And they're still doing sales, but at the same time, still trying to run the organization. What are you telling entrepreneurs like this on how to, quote unquote, stop the insanity, get back on track, make more sales so that they can grow?
Yeah, so the first thing that I do is run through the numbers with them, because I find too many entrepreneurs don't pay attention to the numbers. They don't micromanage the sales numbers. Now, they probably are paying attention to their bank account numbers, but what I'm interested in is what we call the leading indicators of success for them. So I think it's really important that entrepreneurs know how much they want to earn, like what is the sales number that they want to make in a given year, and then what are the required opportunities and leads and activities to produce that. So they have to work backwards all the way up the funnel, if we want to call it that, because then that's going to drive their marketing programs, it's going to drive their sales programs, and it's going to drive ultimately those end results. So that's the first place that I start with them.
Yeah. Well, it's true. I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs, we are salespeople, and salespeople aren't always about the micromanaging of the details, including the numbers, right? And we're not good at it a lot of times too, right? If I had my choice to, go to a networking event and meet 20 new people, or, dig into QuickBooks, you know what I'm going to choose, right? So.
Well, sure. Yeah, I'm the same way. And it's not so much about digging into QuickBooks as it is understanding what the pathway is to success. I mean, it's easy to say to me, hey, Colleen, I got a goal of $1 million this year. Okay, let's break it down. What's your average sales size? What's your closing ratio? What's your lead to opportunity ratio? Where are those leads going to come from? And there's a real science to it. And quite frankly, if you lay out that pathway and pay attention to those metrics, and track them on a regular basis, you will hit your goal. But what I don't like to see is entrepreneurs sort of having success by accident, because then we can't replicate it. Right.
Yeah. We get lucky, right? Right? And then we think, our poop doesn't stink, and then we find out later that it does, right? So.
Exactly.
Very cool. So tell us a little bit about what you speak about, like when you get on stage and help people, and like we talked about too, what makes you unique in your sales training. It's a crowded place. You Google sales training, and there's almost sales training fatigue, right? There's a lot of people doing it. What makes you special, different? What's your secret sauce? How are you helping people?
Yeah, so a couple of things I think make us here at Engage really unique, and that one is that. I'm focused on helping salespeople and organizations embrace what's working today in sales, as opposed to sticking to a methodology that was created in the 60s, 70s, 80s, or even 90s, and saying to salespeople, you need to do this. So we're constantly looking at what is the buying marketplace doing, how are they behaving, what's coming, and then how do we adapt our selling behaviors to that. I am not a proponent of a methodology, like an internal, like here's my sales methodology, I apply it in every single situation, because every buyer is different. And then layer on top of that, I don't roll out any sales training programs to my clients without customizing them to the needs of that customer. Again, so we're always looking at, what's your structure, what's your product, who are your clients, and then what do we need to do to tailor that.
Yeah.
A simple example, a client calls me the other day and he says, we need your help closing. Our guys can't close. We're not hitting our targets. They can't close. Now, I mean, some people would just say, great, I've got a closing program. Let's do it. I said to him, tell me a little bit more about that. And as we started to talk through what was going on, I realized that his closing ratio was actually extraordinary. They were closing 75% of the proposals they sent out without doing anything illegal. The problem wasn't closing, the problem was prospecting. It didn't matter how many deals. If we moved his closing ratio to 80%, he still wouldn't hit his target, because no one was putting enough opportunity in the front end of the funnel. So it would have been a huge waste of money to spend with me on closing when that wasn't solving the problem. And so that's a little bit different from what I do. I need to understand truly what the issue is so that we can customize the program that's going to give the customer the best return on their investment.
That's great. That's great. There's another, I'll say, fatigue going on and it's CRM, right? There's so many CRM. Like back in '95 when I started my first company, I used ACT, right?
Yeah, and I've used ACT.
It was great. It was so great until they lost their way and didn't go to the cloud. And then I think they're back, right? I had the guy that is bringing it back on my podcast a few months ago.
Cool.
We'll see how that goes. They finally went cloud-based again. But ACT was phenomenal. But then along came Salesforce, right? And for me, and a lot of times for smaller businesses, it's just too much, right? I mean, it's great, but I always get scared when you buy a CRM and you got to buy like 4 other things to attach to it to make it work, right? I'm sure it's great for Fortune 500 companies. For me, it's too much. So what are some of the other CRMs that maybe you would recommend for a small, medium-sized entrepreneur?
Yeah, there's all sorts. I think VanillaSoft is a smaller one. We use Infusion here. I think it's now called Keep, and it was really focused in the small market space.
Yeah.
There's Goldmine. There may be ACT. Salesforce is probably, I consider Salesforce to be the best of the best, but if you don't need all of the components, then maybe it's too much.
Yeah.
Outlook, there's a Microsoft Dynamics. There's all sorts of great CRMs, and I'm sure we're probably going to get some hate mail from people for not mentioning theirs. But I think Goldmine became Zoho, and I just learned about Nutshell, and I'm testing out this new one called Cloze, CLOZE. Okay, have you heard about
a lot of these are very intuitive now, where of course they're all web based. And so you enter a client in and they scour the internet for updates on their LinkedIn profiles and Facebook profiles. So their contact now is getting updated, right? And so you go in there and it's kind of very, very intuitive, right?
Yeah, the key for me is this. You've got to find the one that suits your business model the best. There are some that are specifically designed for staffing agencies that are great, but you would never use one of those in a different business. There might be some that are for manufacturing that are great. So definitely pick one that fits your business need. Don't buy a CRM and then adopt your business process to the CRM. Find a CRM that fits your right business process. And then once you've done that, it's going to work if you use it. The reason CRM doesn't work is because people don't use it. They put garbage data in it, and then garbage data stays in it. And you can't make the business decisions if everyone's not using it correctly or using it consistently. Yeah. So those are my 2 big pieces of CRM advice.
Kind of like your brain. Put garbage in, you get garbage out, right? That was Zig Ziglar. When I was younger, starting my first company, I went to Zig Ziglar seminar, and he was like, a lot of people are putting garbage in and they're getting garbage out, right?
It was my very first sales training seminar too. And I think that story, if I remember it, he talks about racehorses. You don't feed racehorses cigarette and alcohol or something like that.
Right. Yeah. It feels good going in, but doesn't feel good the next day, right? Yeah, very true. What do you do to stay on top of your field? Because as you said in your bio, last year is yesterday. You got to move forward with everything. So how do you stay cutting edge?
Yeah, it's a great question. So 2 things predominantly. I have my own coach. I've been working with a business coach, Alan Weiss, for years. And so, he really helps to push me towards new ideas, bigger thinking, in terms of my own business practices. So I think that's important. And I pay attention to what's going on. So I pay attention to the big research houses, Gartner especially, because they're usually on the leading edge of what's happening from a sales and marketing perspective. And I pay attention to what my clients are doing. Every project that we do is, 1 part laboratory, right? Because we can see how buyers are reacting. We can see how sellers are reacting. We can see and watch results improve. And then I can take those and go, I wonder if at a macro level we can apply this to other customers. And so we do that.
Very cool. That's great. And you've written some books, some best-selling books. How many books have you written?
I have written 2.
Written 2 books. Yeah, and we're recording this. It's mid-October 2019,
Yep.
and so now I'm going to, now you got to do it because we're putting it, out in the public. But you said you're going to have a new book out or at the publisher by January of 2020, right?
It better be, yes. If it's not at the publisher by January,
Yeah. See, this is
I'm really
you're regretting that you told me now, right? How's that for accountability? I can come back and say I have proof, Colleen. So what is this book about? Do you have the title yet? Can you a little behind the curtain?
I think the title is probably going to be right on the money. It's actually a little bit more business focused as opposed to just sales focused, and it's about the intersection of what I call sales velocity, which is really the numbers and the science of sales, and customer centricity. And how the balance is so important, because if you get the velocity wrong, you end up as Wells Fargo, right? Just so much focus on the numbers and you pay no attention to what's right for your customers. On the other hand, if you're all about customer centricity, you end up in a situation where you're either out of business like a Sears, or you're disrupting marketplaces to the point where your constituency is going to come down on you, like what we're seeing with Airbnb right now, and all the major markets cracking down and putting in compliance because they've just gone so overboard in their customer-centric approach.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's amazing, right? If I told you 10 years ago, hey, Colleen, I got an idea where you're going to open up your house and let strangers stay in there, and you'd be like, no, I'm not. Yeah. and now they're the largest purveyor of quote unquote hotel rooms without owning one hotel, right?
Exactly.
Or, hey, Colleen, you're going to get in someone's car to drive you places and you don't know who this person is. You'd be like, no, I'm not. I'd be like, yes, you are. And
we taught as children to never get in the car of a stranger.
I know. The rules are changing, right? And, now there's Uber, the largest taxi company in the world, and they don't own one car. I mean, it really is blows the mind away. There's no doubt about it.
But I'm really fascinated by this intersection, because I see things happen all the time where sales fail or customers leave us for no reason, no fault of the salesperson, but it's someone else inside the organization, right? Who made a mistake, or a process or something that's not in place, or the way somebody talked to a customer or didn't talk to a customer, which can drive that customer away. I also see businesses fail because they don't pay attention to the numbers. Twice last year, I had 2 sales VPs get fired while I was working with the organization, because literally their approach was, well, I'm a hands-off kind of guy. I just let my guys do. They're all experienced. They know what to do. I don't need to pay attention to them. I don't need to coach them. I don't know what the numbers are. And ultimately, they were just so far removed in that hands-off approach that they had no idea. And they were, by the time we realized how far away from the goal they were, it was too late to do anything about it. And they deserved to be fired, to be frank.
Yeah. I mean, it's like hands-off parenting. You're going to pay the price at some point, right? So.
And so, I've kind of taken the tact and written about the fact that micromanaging in sales is good. It's, don't confuse micromanaging and nagging, but you have to be intimate with those numbers as an entrepreneur and as a sales leader. Otherwise, you get just slightly to the wrong side of that line of hitting your goal, and you can hit a point of no return really quickly. Very
cool. What are the top 2 or 3 things you think that an entrepreneur should be doing every day?
Sales and marketing. So every single day, an entrepreneur has to do something for client attraction. Let's just call it that. So whether that's talking to potential buyers, or creating a marketing piece, being on social media, being at a networking event, you pick and choose. There needs to be a variety of them. But every single day, an entrepreneur needs to be interacting to attract their customers to them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a simple formula, right? I mean, it's like you want to get 6-pack abs, listen, eat well and do 300 sit-ups a day. You'll get them, right? At the end of the day, the secret sauce for sales is spend, hours per day doing sales and marketing, right? And it's easy not to, because it's, our monkey brains. It's easy to get distracted and to do something fun. It's not always fun doing outbound marketing or outbound sales, right? But, I think at the conference, someone said, I think it was Mike or something said, do 2 hours a day at least on just outbound sales, right? And then I think Anthony Iannarino said, listen, if you want to do better, do 6 hours a day, right?
Yeah. So here's where I have a difference of opinion. I don't know if it's 2 hours or 6 hours. The number is whatever the number requires. So you want to do $500,000 in sales and your average sale is $10,000. You have to close how many sales, right? 50.
Yeah.
And if your conversion ratio is 1 to 3, that's 150 opportunities, qualified opportunities to produce those 50 sales. And if your conversion ratio from lead to opportunity, let's just call it 3 to 1, is again 450 leads, you need to find 450 leads. Yep. And then let's divide that by the number of days you're planning to work in the year, and that will tell you how many leads. And if it's 2 hours, that's great. If it's 8, it's 8.
Right. Yeah. So you want to just, reverse engineer it, right? Essentially. So then it's predictable. Yeah.
And you know what? I find that works much better for people who are entrepreneurs, but not salespeople, like those people who don't like doing that outbound prospecting, because told you got to do 6 hours when you're not a salesperson is going to be heartbreaking and difficult. But if you work the numbers backwards and realize, oh, you know what? It's only 5 calls a day or a half an hour or 1 hour, then it feels manageable to you. And I'm going to get success from that entrepreneur as opposed to, chaining them to their desk and making them do more work than they need to.
Right. Yep. I love it. Well, Colleen, this has been super fantastic. Totally appreciate it. Assuming people have fallen in love with you and want to learn more, how do they reach you? Where do they go if they want to contact you? All that good stuff.
Well, they can do 2 things. EngageSelling.com is my website, or Colleen Francis. You can find me everywhere, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Did I miss any? All of those places.
All that good stuff.
This is what my book looks like backwards in the video. But,
very cool.
Nonstop Sales Boom. They can find it on Amazon as well. In, Kindle, Audible, soft copy, whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Rather ubiquitous. So
very good.
I encourage people to reach out, subscribe to my material. We put out a ton of free material every single month that you're welcome to use to grow your business.
That's great. And if they want to meet you in person, they can come to Outbound Conference in Atlanta. You know the dates off the top of your head?
It's early May. It's actually it's the few days before my birthday. So it's like May 6th, 7th, 8th, I think.
Okay. And just Google, I think it's Outbound Conference. And I'm already going. I signed up, got my ticket. It was one of the best conferences I've ever been to. Just 2 or 3 days. I think it was 3 days, right? And you're just drinking from the fire hose of sales, knowledge, and inspiration. So and what I liked about it is all the speakers were there for the 3 days. Like you were approachable, like,
absolutely.
Yeah. Walk out afterwards and I get to talk to you. Right. Yeah. And we connected on LinkedIn and here we are. So that's one of the nice things about the conference is you guys were all very, very approachable, which is
good.
Wonderful.
As we were talking, I was trying to see if I quickly had access to the discount code that you can use to get $100 off Outbound, but I don't know where it is right now in the mess of my in-basket. But if people connect with us on whatever those different sites are, whatever your preferred site of choice is, ask me the question and we'll get you the code.
That is fantastic. Excellent. Well, Colleen, thank you so much. And I can't tell you how many times I want to call you Connie.
Oh, I know.
People do that? Connie Francis. I'm actually I know Connie Francis because of my grandparents, I think. But Colleen Francis, thank you so much. Really appreciate you being, and congratulations on all your success. And I wish you continued massive success for the future.
Great. Thanks for having me. It was great fun.
Thank you. And thank you, Avanti family, for listening to the Avanti Entrepreneur Podcast. We have a great new website I want you to check out, AvantiEntrepreneur.com. It's been updated just a few months ago. So many resources on there. We have a learning library. We have all of our events, and we have access to our podcast, the whole works. So AvantiEntrepreneur.com. Please check it out. Have a great day, everybody. Make sure to stay awesome.
Bye.